Welcome to DCeased, right here at Comicstorian. When we last left off, Darkseid had finally defeated the Justice League by combining Cyborg, the Anti-Life Equation, and the Black Racer into one evil element. An element that strips the beings of life, turning them into zombie-like creatures. He sent this disease back to Earth, where it began to wipe out many of our heroes, including Batman, Green Lantern, and the Flash, to name a few. As our heroes tried to rally against it, they lost the entire eastern seaboard to an explosion. And then, lastly, the Man of Steel had become infected. But our heroes believed themselves to be safe, as their beacon of hope flew out into space before the infection could take over. At least, they thought they would be safe. This is the Comicstorian channel, where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues, we break down video games and movies, and we give you a synopsis of the lore within your favorite pop culture universe as an audio drama. I hope you guys enjoy the coverage of DCeased 6. He is faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And as cold rain falls on what is left of New York City, the people look up and they smile. For Superman always inspired hope. But their smiles of hope soon turn to stunned looks of fear as the Man of Steel plummets towards the earth. The people can't see his crazed eyes or the blood leaking out of his ears. They hear the guttural screams of rage. He smashes earthward hard, destroying the world's largest residential building with an earth-shattering quake that wipes out most of New York in seconds. The end has begun. In the Fortress of Solitude, the remaining heroes have gathered around Cyborg. If Superman is turned, it's over. It's just over. The Ark's ready. If we leave Earth now, he tells them, but Lois shakes her head. Superman can take down both Arks in a heartbeat. We have to take him on, Wonder Woman agrees. And it is Black Lightning who questions how they can stop the most powerful being on the planet. With this, Damian tells him, holding up a small case from his utility belt with Superman's symbol on it. Batman left a takedown plan for every major hero, Damian explains, and Green Arrow steps forward, mildly amused. Of course he did. Batman doesn't even have to be alive to scheme against us all. Damian pauses for a moment. Actually, he didn't have one for you. Oliver stops short, shocked that Bruce didn't even think that he was dangerous. You're hurt because Batman didn't have a post-mortem Machiavellian plan to end you? Dinah asks. Well, yeah. I could be a planetary threat if I wanted to be, Arrow tells her, crossing his arms, pouting just a little. Of course you could, dear. Damian removes the container, showing the kryptonite to the group. Within are also a set of schematics that Cyborg can use to create a kryptonite gas that will slow down Superman. That's not enough, Wonder Woman states, stepping forward. Bruce was a lot of things, but he was never lethal. It was admirable, but we can't hold back now, she tells the group. Dinah steps forward, asking if she has a plan. Of course. You think Batman is the only one with enough sense to plot against his friends? She turns, ordering Dinah and Cyborg to follow her while the others go and begin to load the Arks. The three heroes move through the Fortress of Solitude, and deep within, they find Superman's forge, where Wonder Woman begins to create. Her hammer rings through the icy fortress as she forges a weapon that could kill a god from beyond the stars. And while she works, she explains that Clark is most vulnerable to kryptonite and magic, and that she and her mother believed that they could combine the two. Are you sure that it'll work? Dinah asks, watching as the warrior combines her sword with the kryptonite. This is the sword of Athena. Athena was a war goddess. We fight of everything, she tells them, the hammer ringing. She was the goddess of craft. We have fused mythology with an element from a world that no longer exists. The blade dips into the icy waters, cooling and sizzling, until Wonder Woman holds it before her. Last, she was the goddess of mathematics. We are fighting an equation. This is not a coincidence. I believe we hold fate in our hands. With their work done, the three heroes fly to try and save the last people of their worlds. In Gotham, the last civilians are loaded onto the Ark, with Damian turning to Wally, telling him that it's time to go. But Ivy steps forward, shaking her head. I am not abandoning the Green, she tells him, and Harley is at her side smiling. And I'm not abandoning her. Minutes go by and the two watch, hand in hand as the Ark leaves them behind. And Themyscira, Green Arrow calls for the last of the survivors to get on board. And as they wait, Queen Hippolyta and Queen Mara are interrupted as one of the Amazons points to the strange storm rolling from the sea. Briefly, Mara stares in stunned fear before speaking to the Queen of the Amazons. Move the evacuation to high ground. Ready your warriors around the Ark and the refugees. Is it a storm? Hippolyta asks. No, it is a tempest. The water suddenly churn and break as mighty tentacled beasts rise out of the ocean depths. The creature roars into the storm, and hundreds of Atlanteans, taken by the anti-life equation, boil out of the sea. The Kraken, Mera hisses. From the creature's back, Aquaman appears, with his own roar of rage and pain, mixing with an army of undead, the one that he commands. His cries are cut off as an arrow pierces his eye, though. Dead, he plummets from the monster's back and into the ocean below. And Batman didn't think I could be dangerous, Green Arrow whispers, his bow in hand. Just fired an arrow half a mile in raging winds into the brain of the undead king of the sea while he's controlling a damned kraken. Screw you, Batman! Hippolyta orders her warriors to assemble as Mera tries to hold off the rest of the undead horde with her water magic. The two queens stand side by side, trying to hold off the tide of the dead, but they are not alone. Without fear, the Amazons of Themyscira crash into the dead of the deep. And in New York, Superman roars, his heat vision flashing out, destroying all that is around him. He wasn't that hard to find, Dinah notes as they fly over the ruins of the city. Cyborg confirms that no one is alive, and Dinah nods. Then I don't have to hold back, she says, creating a megaphone with her ring to amplify her canary cry. The piercing shriek shakes the ground around them, and the shockwaves crash into the Man of Steel, who falls to his knees. But over in Themyscira, the Amazons continue their battle, their blades hacking into the undead Atlanteans. Fists and feet lash out, and arrows find their targets as the brave warriors try to hold back the tide. But they begin to fall. With every bite and scratch, the virus is transmitted and another warrior joins the ranks of the undead. Green Arrow keeps firing, holding the door as the last of the refugees gets on board. He yells for Mera, telling the queen that they need to leave, and her fist punches through another undead. Amazons! She shouts back. But Oliver motions to the vast army of the undead that fight below them. Mera, there's no extracting them from that, he tells her, sadness in his voice. On the beach, Hippolyta's fists throw more Atlanteans aside as she orders Wonder Girl to retreat. The queen knows that she won't be leaving this beach. And in a brief moment, she hands her crown to the young girl. Tell my daughter that the promise of Themyscira is hers to honor now. The young girl nods, flying from the battle to join the Ark. And on the beach below, the battle rages on. The Amazons stayed so that millions could flee. And eventually, they fell. They fell fighting. Paradise held off oblivion. And in New York, Superman has begun his battle with the Canary Cry, slowly gaining ground on Dinah. Her radio crackles and Oliver tells her that the Arks are away. Dinah can't hold out her cry, and Superman charges, smashing against the green shield that she has thrown up. Cyborg fires a shot, hoping to hold the Man of Steel off, but Superman's grasp begins to crack the shield. Suddenly, Diana is there, her kryptonite lace sword slicing through the arm of Superman. She rears back, stabbing into his chest, and the Man of Steel roars in pain with his fist punching through her stomach. Dinah screams as Wonder Woman falls to the earth, and Cyborg watches as Superman rockets into the sky, chasing after the Arks. The two heroes gather around Diana on the ground, blood coughing through her lips. He's seen the Arks, she tells them, her words strained. You have to stop him, she tells Dinah, handing her the sword. Green Canary stares down at the weapon in her hands before finally turning to Vic. It's okay. I'll stay with her, he tells his friend, and Dinah tries to tell him that he can't stay, but Vic shakes his head. The virus started with me, Dinah. I was never coming with you. In space, John and Damian stand at the viewport looking down at the Earth below them. He's coming. My dad, John tells his friend, and the two friends look panicked at each other. Can you do anything? Damian asks. Look after my mom. The young boys share a final hug. You're gonna be a great Batman, buddy, John whispers. Lois tries to stop her son, but John knows what to do, revealing the shield on his chest, the last beacon of hope. He rockets into space. John is the only one standing between the last survivors of Earth and extinction. His father would be so proud. The two Kryptonians rocket towards each other, connecting in the darkness of space, the force of the blow echoing throughout the void. But Superman is only stunned as John drifts away. But that moment was all that they needed. Dinah flies forward, prepared to fight and end this battle. She readies the sword, but suddenly she's bathed in green light. Attention, Green Lantern of Sector 2814, her ring chimes. More Green Lanterns swarm around her, coming to her aid. Seriously, Dinah, Guy Gardner asks with a smile. I leave you alone for 1 month and the whole place goes to hell? Dinah questions what is happening, and one of the Guardians explains that the Lanterns are quarantining Earth. which, isn't great because this is our space sector. Losing our whole world kind of reflects very badly upon us. Gardner notes. Dinah is shocked that he is still joking at a time like this. Hey, I might not have the incredible willpower of Hal Jordan or the stunning creativity of Kyle Rayner, but I am a master of masking my emotional terror with jokes, he tells her. The Lanterns all turn to see the undead Men of Steel floating before them. What is Superman doing? Guy asks. Dinah tells them that the creature is thinking, trying to decide if it can take them all on. The monster stares at them silent for a few moments, and then it turns, and it flies away. The Lanterns give chase, but the monster disappears into the sun. The Guardian orders the Lanterns to stop, and deep within the sun, the monster stretches, absorbing the energy from the star. It's feeding, draining the sun, the Guardians explain. In time, this entire solar system will be cold and die. Dinah floats next to him, questioning whether the Lanterns are going to let this happen. Even the Green Lantern's light is not powerful enough to reach into the heart of a star. The Guardian explains. When the sun dies, the virus will sleep. The Lanterns will monitor the situation as needed, and finally the Corps will provide escort as the Arcs make their way into deep space, searching for a new home for humanity. On Earth, Cyborg watches as Wonder Woman roars in a rage, her eyes dead now. I have a question, Cyborg shouts, tightening his hold in the lasso of truth. Can you speak? Wonder Woman stops her thrashing and she straightens up. We have a voice, she growls. He asks if there's a way to stop them. We are death. Nothing can stop us. You are a virus. Can you be cured? Yes. The rain falls around them as Cyborg asks where the cure is. The monster that was Wonder Woman struggles, and he tightens his grip further. Where? She stops again. The cure is in you. Cyborg is stunned as she explains that Vic is both man and machine. Off and on. Patient Zero, the One, the Alpha, and the Omega. Vic drops the lasso, looking into the sky. He needs to tell the Arcs. Wonder Woman roars, wrapping her arms around his head, twisting it with all her strength. She throws the head away, letting the body fall to the ground. Life is fleeting. That is the only truth, the monster whispers. Death is eternal. The Arcs travel and the Lanterns provide support, and eventually John and Lois stand before one of the viewports. A tear in her eyes as her and her son look out the window, looking at the world that lays before them. They look over this new world, their fresh beginning, their Earth 2. They are finally safe. The monsters are all behind them now. And that concludes the DCeased 6-issue mini-series. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this. There is a spin-off issue that we're going to be covering very soon, but I wanted to time this one with the conclusion to the main series. So if you want to see the next part of DCeased, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell for a notification. And don't forget, we also cover Batman storylines, Spider-Man storylines, Deadpool storylines, and all kinds of creepy whatever happens in your favorite video games, movies, and comic books. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this from beginning to end. And if you just now joined us for the first time, the whole playlist will be down below so you can watch all of your favorite heroes die. I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.